we are live. So, speak to me about who you spoke to earlier.
Well, I just did like a little catch up with a client that we had a few days ago. Because he purchased through us and just want to see how it's going because he's 4 months into his since the settlement of the purchase.
And what's interesting about this one was that so we met this client because he was living in a property that we purchased for an expat, and he'd been living in there for about a year or so. Is that right?
Yeah.
And he'd owned a property before, or he owns another property in another state, and yeah, we met him that way. We got to know him. Well, you got to know him, and he what was his what was what was he struggling with when you was talking to him initially?
He knew that if he gonna settle down in Melbourne, he's definitely gonna buy, but he wasn't sure. I think that was the biggest conversation. A lot of people coming from interstate or expat
Mm.
coming back to Melbourne, where like buying a big ticket item is a worry. And also, even though he purchased something on another state, Melbourne can be nervous to buy.
Yeah, wasn't there some errors that he'd made in the other purchase?
Yeah, he felt like he bought at kind of at the peak of the time and wasn't sure it was the right purchase.
Mm.
And he's been holding it for a really long time. So I think because of that, it gave him a little bit sour taste in his mouth
Well, it's
before getting the
a
next
lot
one.
a lot of question marks, right? You don't want to make
Yeah, a
the same
lot.
mistake twice. And so
Yeah.
that's fascinating. So I actually didn't know you was going to speak to him, but that was 4 months since we settled on his new purchase. We moved out of the one that we purchased into
Hmm.
his property. And
Yeah.
like, where's he at? Like, is he loving it or
This is exactly what he said, Sabrina. If not going through you guys, I wouldn't know how perfect this occasion for my lifestyle and what my current life really need to be.
hmm.
Um,
Because you was, if I remember, during his search there, he was open to quite a lot of areas. If I remember, he was jumping from one side of Melbourne to the other, and it was all over the place, really, wasn't he? And it was a matter of supporting him through that, basically.
yeah, yeah, and giving confidence of the process as well, because buying can be very scary alone. I think a lot
Mm.
of people feel lonely about that too when they buy a property. I think that's one thing. And secondly is we kind of shortlisted what exactly he's looking for. I think that's very important for him. Yeah.
Mm. And this is actually it feeds perfectly into the newsletter 004 is that and I haven't broken the numbers down for this, but it was almost ahead of the curve. And in 004 I do a video that talks about the this thing that's happened in Melbourne, and it's quietly happened behind the scenes, which is the median values of apartments have been trending slowly downwards for the last 10 years or so. But at the same time, rents in the last 2 years have just gone boom, at least 30% up. And so without breaking down those numbers, it's exactly the same profile of Collingwood, which is a feature of 004, in that because he's living in that place as well, from a numbers perspective, if he'd stayed in rentals, it wouldn't be any difference between the cost of owning versus the cost of buying. And so
Mm.
it's fascinating to hear after 4 months in that he's over the moon because he's actually bought his own home. He's got that ownership. He's got that place of being, and it sounds like that's what he was talking about, was that he's just delighted in where he is and enjoying life right now.
He is. Yeah, I'm so happy that he felt I can hear by the tone of his voice and saying like this gonna be a long a long period of time for him to stay in that home. That's comforting to know because,
Mm,
sometimes you buy something you're not sure, maybe a few years times that maybe I just want to move somewhere else. But in his case, it's not.
mm. No, it's good. And also as well, it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be his forever home. And so just buying that property there, at some point, I'm absolutely convinced that these apartments are going to start trending back upwards. They're not going to catapult upwards, but if during that time he can pay down his principal or pay down that principal quicker, it's the perfect stepping stone into the future, into the forever home at some point further down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, happy client, happy, actually a happy tenant, and then a happy client as well.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, let's if anyone's watching this and they're going because the theme that we're really exploring at the moment is and I've just hit it on it there is that it's in Melbourne there is such a sweet spot that has kind of gone unnoticed, which is it's definitely not cheap. But again, it depends on the percentages. But if you're putting down 20%, or put it this way, if you're putting down 35%, not that a lot of people can't do that, but if you were, the cost of buying versus the cost of renting would be the same. And that's extraordinary. We haven't seen those numbers since we saw cheap interest rates.
Yes.
And so there's
Yeah.
definitely been a major structural shift occur in Melbourne because it's not the same in other states. And it's because the median value has been trending downwards. And then we've had this big uptick in rents. And so, yeah, anyone out there that's thinking that maybe that they might be in rented accommodation now or moving to Melbourne and thinking, right, okay, my only option is to rent. I'd really, really suggest maybe you think a little bit outside the box. Maybe buying is actually a golden opportunity in this marketplace right now. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Watch this space. Cool. Oh,